May 1980. Of the 6 young men who set out 2 years ago to become fighter pilots, only 2 have come this far. Here at RAF Valley in Anglesey, they'll train for 4 months in high-performance jet aircraft. If they survive this stage, they'll be given their wings.
What I like to think here is that we give them a new outlook on life. We get them thinking about maybe dropping bombs and firing things and all that kind of thing. So we readapt their ideas, I think, more than anything. And we like to think we shove them out the other end a bit more mature and a bit more idea about what they're going to do in the future. The CI puts it in the underarm test, of course. He's got to fit the bill. And Air Force fast jet flying, it's easy to see why, because you're not going to go to war with a wanker on your wing who you can't trust and don't even like.
Robbie Lowe. He is described as a flyer of good average ability, but his report contains the cautionary note, he is a slow learner.
You get people who start getting into a lot of difficulty and they stop enjoying it because it is very hard work. They stop enjoying it, and I think that's the start of the downfall. I enjoy having achieved what I've achieved, but at the time it seems like hell, you know, and all the planning and everything. But after you've done it, you think, oh, that's great.
John McRae prepares for an artificial flight under a fluorescent sky. His report says that his excellent potential as a flyer could be prejudiced by an unpredictable temperament. He'll spend 21 hours in this simulator, getting acclimatized to the sophisticated controls of the more advanced Hawk trainer.
Roger, start your checks now then.
Okay, sir. DGIS, yes, I tell you.
I'll now set up the computer for a typical sortie and take the cursor down. We'll have a warm day today, and I'll set that on the computer. It will give us wind and temperatures and various turbulence and so on. That turbulence on the computer is just a little bit too much for this sortie, so I'll make that 10%.
He's got, let's see, 25 miles to run. He's on the correct heading, but in a moment I'm going to give him an emergency. And in this particular case, we'll give him a generator failure. So I'll just select that emergency now. The means of doing this is selecting page 28. I've selected on that left-hand VDU, and there are the electric failures. And we'll be just a little bit sneaky on this one. We'll fail one of his batteries before putting that fault in. So I'll just put the cursor against battery 1, low charge, and make that active. He has now only got one good battery. And it's already now, when I press this insert button, the fault will become active. It is active, and if we look over to the right here, we'll see on this video the voltage is increasing. As it gets to 30, the overvolt relay will work. There we are. We've got AC1, AC2, and that will be followed by generator failure. There we are.
Okay, 24 volts, DC reset, nothing. Pan, Delta, Delta, Juliet, 234, pan.
Delta 234, London Mill. Your now suitable airfield is Shawbury. Steer for Shawbury 140. You have 25 miles to run.
140 for Shawbury, Delta 234 is an electrical malfunction request. Immediate ascent, VMC below, and handoff to Shawbury for priority landing.
He has made an emergency call on London Mill North, and now I'm directing him towards Shawbury and letting him down to 4,500 feet. You can see the aircraft. He is descending at just over 6,000 feet per minute, and he's reducing height at the moment. He's coming down below. There we are, just passing 12,000 feet at this time. Delta 234, you're now under radar control. Set the Shawbury QFE 1012 and advise set.
1012 set, passing 9, Delta 234. 25, Delta 234, check the latest cloud base of this area.
Delta 234, steer now 155. The local weather in the Shawbury area is 88 cloud at 2,000 feet.
High-speed flying at high altitude demands perfect fitness. Even a simple cold can ground a pilot. Robbie Lowe's had the bad luck to develop what's thought to be a sinus infection and has been grounded for 4 weeks.
At 250 feet, you can't see that. That's right.
Basically, the problem that I went to the doctor with was that I just wasn't breathing as good as I should be. I was lying in bed at night breathing through my mouth simply because I couldn't breathe through my nose. I was sniffling. I had pains up the front of my head. Sort of a sensation that there was something trying to burst out between my eyes.
At first, I treated this as a case of mild sinusitis. I had him on a short course of antibiotics and some decongestants, and of course I stopped him flying, because flying, when you have bacteria in the upper respiratory tract, tends to cause problems with pressure changes. These two are basically the eye sockets here, where the eyes fit in. This is just the bony structure behind. The eyes don't show up at all in X-ray. This here is the frontal sinus, and down here you see the nasal air passages and the maxillary sinuses. The problem usually, in fact, is when they're descending, because of the increase in pressure. Air needs to get back into the inner ear or to these sinuses and becomes blocked, and they get very severe pain, and then this can lead to a perforated eardrum.
As fighter pilots, they'll learn how to fight in the air, and if they're shot down, how to survive on the ground. This is a 4-day lesson in how to live off the land by hunting and foraging when you've come down in a hostile country. For the purposes of this exercise, whales.
Some people have been catching quite big fish. We managed to obtain a couple from other sources, which we'd just eaten, and they were very nice. Yeah, I was quite surprised, because I don't normally like fish.
The Ojibwa bird snare. We first thought this must have been a damn good snare because there aren't many Ojibwa birds left. We found out, in fact, it was named after the Ojibwa Indians, and there aren't many of those, so it was a pretty lousy snare because they all starved to death. It's quite neat, actually. The little bird will land then in the only convenient spot to eat that enticing piece of leftover sausage meat. When it lands, the last thing on its mind, eating the sausage meat. A little simulated creature, enticed by that tender morsel of leftovers from the staff dinner, comes along and eats it. Gobble, gobble, and gets his head smashed in. Little beast comes along very greedily, gobble, gobble. Hopefully, it would actually land on the beast and prevent anyone else getting under and eating it. And that, I assure you, would give it more than a headache. Here comes little Bunny, hopping along. Right, that's where I get my fingers whipped off. And he would start kicking around, and hopefully that would fall. And there we are, saying his prayers.
2 years ago, I didn't really know what it was going to be like. Put it like this, that everybody tells you that it will be very, very difficult. And when you start, you're not sure whether they're telling the truth or whether they're exaggerating or what. In fact, they're not, because to get this far, I think, is a reasonable achievement. The amount of work that we've had to put in to get this far and the amount of consistent work is sufficient to mean that we can have some satisfaction about getting this far, I believe. And so I would say that unless you're certain that this is what you want to do, flying was what you wanted to do, then don't bother joining, because unless you are motivated, and obviously everyone has hiccups in their motivation and they think, Christ, I wish I hadn't let myself in for this. Basically, if you have any more than a 20% doubt in your mind as to whether that's what you want to do, then just don't bother, because otherwise it would just make you completely unhappy, I would think. I could see it. I could imagine a lot of people joining and then absolutely hating it and it just ruining their life from then on until they were chopped, which is the only outcome of that, really.
Rover 1, could you go to...
Blue clear join, 1 for left hand QFE, 1014, 1 downwind, 1 turning downwind and 1 fast initials. Bravo 61 clear roll. Bravo 61, 2 ahead, surface wind 20021.
Blue, final sign green.
Blue, clear overshoot, 1 on remaining.
Flight level 105.
Robbie Lowe has thrown off his sinus infection and the medical officer has cleared him for flying. But he's been grounded for a month now, so if he's to catch up and stay with the course, he'll have to cram an extra 30 hours of flying time into an already tough schedule. But John McRae, who for a long time was inhibited by self-doubt, has suddenly and quite unexpectedly begun to fly with adventurous fluency.
The low level was good, and the practice emergency was quite nicely handled initially, and you set off for Wittering nicely. That was good. However, what you must not do is allow air traffic just to put you suddenly in the circuit area at Wittering without your having spoken to the local control. So that was bad, and to suddenly call finals 3 greens without having made a previous RT call was rather embarrassing, really, and it could have screwed up a lot of people. So that wasn't too good. We bounced off the airway
General
then.
points. You're too low at times, definitely.
Right,
I like low flying, but by God, sometimes those trees were looking in the cockpit.
all right, sorry.
And some of the sheep sort of didn't like it much either. So don't skim ridges.
No.
Give it, you know, use the airplane, make it fly, make it do what you want to be, but don't just go a mean line and go boink off one ridge, boink over the valley even. You know, okay, fly across the valley, but don't miss that ridge by 150 feet, which we were doing at times.
The last weeks of the 16-week course at Valley, and the severest test is about to begin. At this point, the ability to fly well at 500 miles an hour is taken for granted. It's a fighter pilot's all-round ability that's being examined now.
Can he navigate? Can he fly at 250 feet and navigate? Can he deal with weather, make decisions? Can he get to where he's going? To drop a bomb? And if anything untoward comes up, bad weather, can he get round it successfully? Simple as that.
Okay, from Bridgewater. From the lake, we go up to this hill. Which crosses the Severn. In fact, it flies up the mouth of the Severn and then through this system here, which is it's got a little pink arrow, which means it's a one-way system. So at low level, you must only fly northwards in that section. There'll be a south one as well somewhere there. From there.
What I'll usually do on the test is that I give him the route, I see how his nav is, if he's got the right techniques, and then if there aren't any problems naturally built into the trip, I give him some. Once I've got him to the target, I usually let him go to the target. And then I'll move him off track and see how he is making it up.
And then up to the target, which is near Hereford. The target itself is, it says it's a water tower with electronics mounted on it. Now, what that exactly will be, I don't know yet. And I'll, in fact, just read my way up the map using any funnel features that I can to bring me into the target.
What people tend to do is to over map read. And they'll go along, thumbing down the line, getting it all right. And their speed will start going wrong, and their heading will go wrong, and suddenly they'll find that the things on the ground just are not matching up with what they've got. So they panic further, they diverge from heading further, they go slower, and it all gets worse and worse, and eventually, you know, they're not with it. So really that sort of thing means that they haven't been flying this the way they've been taught. The good guy will go down and he'll map read, and he'll be able to look out, which is not a natural function either. You've got to practice looking out. And that also is something I check up on, is whether they're looking out, because if I see more aircraft than them, then they're not looking out. Or they'll see some weather sat on a hill, and they'll fly straight towards it because it's on track. And they sit there, and they sit there, and they sit there. You know, and you just wait for the decision. And sometimes it just doesn't come. What do you want me to do, sir? All right, let's go ahead and crash.
So what do you do then?
Well, you just leave it till as late as you can and take control and go around the weather and give him a black mark. Because you can't do things like that, obviously. A lot of hillsides plattered with pilot.
And our diversions, no problems for the morning, certainly. Number 1, Shawbury, a lot of starter queue, but the viz is very good. They're expecting slight rain mid-afternoon, some patches of cloud at around 1,000 feet. And much the same at Lynham. Upper winds, as you see, are not unduly strong.
The problem with final nav test is the fact that I think there's a lot of luck involved in it, basically, due to the weather. The test itself involves a high-level leg from valley to a certain point, hopefully a fairly distinguishable point like an island. Then at that point you let down into low level and probably do about an hour at low level, which is 250 feet. At low level it's suddenly everything's very, very close to you. 250 feet is only what the height of 4 or 5 tall trees, and at 420 knots, which is what we're flying at, say 500 miles an hour, it's fairly exciting. When the public see a low-flying aircraft, sometimes they misjudge the height, shall we say, because it can be quite frightening to have an aircraft fly over you, especially if it comes from behind a hill.
Why do they teach you to fly low level so avidly?
Why do they?
That's the point, yeah.
Because I think it's going to be the only way to avoid radar. The radar systems they've got nowadays are so good that if you fly anything much above 250 feet, they'll see you. And in fact, in the war, there's no way about it. People will be lower than 250. They'll be down at 50 feet if necessary. They used to do it in the Second World War with Lancasters. They used to take them down to 50 feet, so, and they didn't have the radar systems. So it's obvious that that's what's going to happen. Because an aircraft travelling very, very fast, very, very low, is not only impossible to track by radar, it's almost impossible to bring any sort of gun to bear on it because it's passed so quickly that you just can't hit it. And I think that's the way it'll work, as fast as possible, as low as possible. We're only learning at the moment, you know. The people that will do it in the real case can fly low level, you know, absolutely second nature, and they have enough spare capacity, as they teach you at Broady, to not only be able to navigate yourself at low level, be able to take a 3 or 4 ship formation across that and worry about the problems of the man on your wing as well as your own problems. So it's all practice, that's all, and this is just one stage in that practice. So we've got enough at the moment as it is, just with passing these. You know.
It's all right.
How'd you do?
All right. Yeah. Yeah.
Don't look so surprised.
No. No, it was nice. Nice day, nice weather. Lovely. No problems. Don't you give him a kiss? Well done, John. See, you almost got a smile there. How was the trip, John?
It was low average, I think.
John McCrae, typically pessimistic, has nonetheless passed his navigation test. He's very close now to completing the course and going on to the Tactical Weapons Unit, TWU. That's where flying officers become, at last, fighter pilots.
Okay, sir. John McCrae, flying ability average, OQs were high average, and he came 3rd in ground school. So, and overall it becomes just into the above average bracket overall, which is perhaps slightly surprising, but that's how it works out. Anyway.
Yes, certainly from his earlier showings. That's nice to hear.
Yeah, he was high average on general handling, high average IF, average nav, low average at night. He didn't like night at all, and average in formation, but getting better all the time, as a lot of them seem to do.
Yeah, yeah.
And we would like to recommend TWU.
Good, good. Yes, we were flying with him yesterday on his FHT. It certainly seemed that he would be good at TW material. His main thing is, I think on his write-up, we must ensure that he is treated moderately. I think he was a very nervous individual.
Yes.
And if he could develop his own self-confidence, I think he'd be a far better aviator for it.
Yeah. It's not a very good picture for Robbie. He's come out bottom of the course on every count. Low average across the board so far. And therefore we've got to look at his TWU possibilities. And they're not all that good, I wouldn't have said. We'd like to recommend him for multi-jet, possibly Canberra. His captaincy should probably be up to Canberra standards, I would think. Working with the crew.
How do you think he'd fit with the crew?
I think he'd fit fairly well. He's a reasonable enough personality to act as an aircraft captain. But we don't see him really in a single seat or even a twin-seat high-performance role.
No, no.
At the moment. Maybe a Canberra tour under his belt, it might make a difference.
Give him a chance to mature.
Yeah.
And take it from there.
Hello, Robbie. Sit down. Sit on the hard seat if you don't mind.
Robbie Lowe, the slow learner, after intensive extra training, has managed to catch up with the rest of the course, but at a cost.
I'm sorry that it wasn't to be TWU, but I think for yours and the Air Force's sake, Canberra's is a better start for you.
Now, you will sink or swim by the food that you feed yourself. I give 3 little watchwords. No doubt everybody on the course will say, hey, what did he say to you? But basically, there are 3 watchwords that I consider are vitally important for a guy like you going into the Wired Air Force. Preparation, application, and dedication.
3 little guidelines that I ask everybody to think about. Preparation, application, and dedication. That's preparation for every single sortie, no matter what sortie it is. IF, formation, weapons, which is something that you'll be getting onto, something totally new, great, great fun.
The points go downwards, if you haven't seen. We bless the wings. Almighty God, from whom all blessings flow, bless, we pray, these wings, so earnestly desired and deservedly gained by these your servants. Grant that they may be worn with dignity and with pride as symbols of the highest traditions of the Royal Air Force. For Jesus Christ's sake, Amen.
Pilot Officer Robbie Lowe.
Congratulations, Robbie. Thank you, sir. Well, this is a bit different from your medical training.
Very different, sir, yes.
You look very happy that you made the change.
I am, sir.
Very well done. Congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
Pilot Officer John McRae.
Congratulations, John. You must tell me about all these rude comments on these previous jobs you've done. Your agricultural flying when you later on.
Thanks, sir.
We were always proud of him, but now he's got the satisfaction of wearing these. He doesn't need to doubt himself anymore. I'm thinking what a lot of hard work and heartache has gone into the training that's culminated in the award of these wings, both on John's part and ours, I think. I think he's suffered on many occasions, and we've suffered with him. But it's very gratifying now to be able to have reached this stage. Very gratifying. As he's proved his ability to other people and to himself, too, I hope.